This is Andy with QualityStocks. Today's Tuesday, June 14th, 2011, and today we're going to take a look at El Capitan Precious Metals. This is a bulletin board listed company trading our ticker ECPN. It's another interesting chart. Took a pretty good nosedive here towards the end of May, dove right through the 200-day moving average, but turned around the next day, pulled right back up, came back, fell through it again, but then next day once again pulled right back up. Still holding on top of it at this point. I think it's one I'm going to throw on the watch list to see if it's going to hold that 200-day or not, and try and see if it's going to put together any kind of upward momentum or possibly fall back down here into this area of support. One thing I'm going to have my eye on with this MACD is that long-term trend line. I always put those on there because sometimes they break down low and you look at the trend line. This is another case where it's going to break right around that zero mark, which of course any push up through zero is always bullish. And in this case, it'll also be breaking a long-term trend line. So if this can continue its upward movement, it's something that I'll be watching closely if it can continue to push up and try and move towards zero. You can see the PPO actually has a little bit of a different look. Right now breaking through that trend line. I always look for channels, I always look for trends, and I try and get as many of them to coincide at the same time as possible, because if this is breaking a trend while other indicators are breaking the trend, while it's pushing on resistance, things like that, can help increase odds of trying to gauge movement in the stock price. So for early on starters, it is nice to see that PPO breaking through the trend line. ADX is in an okay position to try and make a reversal. I like to see that negative DI up on top of the positive DI. It is kind of channeling sideways right through here. You can see not really making lower lows, so it's something to keep on watch. And with the ADX moving this direction, it's showing that the trend is starting to gain some steam. So my interpretation of this ADX at this point would be relatively neutral. All three components registering under a 30. I do like to see this MFI trending upward. All three breaking through 50. That's a positive sign for me. I like to see it trending over top of 50. It's much more bullish. Another good example, those that follow our charts will see this over and over again. Start to get a big separation of the 7 away from the 14 and 21, and typically it will want to pull right back down to it. And of course that just happened, but now all three in close proximity, moving together and all moving north. Accumulation distribution needs to hold this base. You can see it's trying to establish it. If it does break through that base, selling pressure is obviously coming in, and I'd be more apt to believe it's going to probably go down and test another support level. Shaking money flow going along with that accumulation distribution, showing that selling pressure is still dominant, but it definitely looks like it's subsiding a little bit, starting to make its way towards zero. CCI trying to trend upward. Again, needs to break through the zero mark to get on the upper side of the indicator. Full Stowe's not in a bad position, holding over top of 50. That's bullish. And it looks like it's trying to rotate right, so that doesn't have a bad look at all to it. And the tricks, I like to see that turn. I like to see that bullish cross. Looks like it's starting to work its way back towards zero. And right now it's pushing on that trend line, something I always want to see. So the tricks has a very nice look. As with so many other things, RSI relatively neutral, but you want to see it push into the upper half. But again, not in a bad position at all at this point. And what I'm going to look for through here mainly, like I mentioned, is that dynamic support of the 200-day moving average. It's registering a 78 right now. You can see the stock closed at 80. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it tends to want to pull right back up over top of it. So I'm going to watch that and see if this is indeed giving us hints. This is going to try and make a push north and possibly challenge this 50-day. So that 78 is a key support level. If it can't hold that, I'm certainly going to be looking for 65 again. That's the next place it picks up pretty good support. Of course, it dipped a little bit lower. That support level would run all the way down to this lower side right here, where it broke through the first time to push through 60. But my point being with this is this play, I want to see this play hold this 200-day. Otherwise, the odds are greatly increased. It's going to come back down here and touch these lower levels again. From a resistance standpoint, we'll be looking at that 90-cent mark. I want to see it make a new higher high through here. 50 days dynamic, it's coming down. It's going to reinforce that resistance level right around there. So on any sort of upward movement, I'll be looking to see if it's going to break through 90. And if it does and wants to pull back, I want to see it hold over top of 90, establish that as a new support level, and then possibly try and continue the uptrend. Beyond that, resistance really doesn't come into play again until up here around $1.15. Obviously a very large move from where it is, from this under 80 cents to up over $1.15. It's a strong percentage move. But as always, it's not targets, it's just identifying where it's going to meet resistance if the upward movement continues. So those are some key areas I'd really have my eyes on right now. And for me, it all starts with holding this 200-day. See volume 195,000 shares traded. That might be just slightly below average. If it's going to go up here and make a push and go challenge this 50-day, of course I'm going to want to see these volume bars increase. If it wants to just continue to trickle sideways right through here, it doesn't really matter to me that much if the volume stays relatively low. It's just showing more indecision if it does. But on any upward movement, I certainly want to see volume bars start spiking up. So when I ran across this chart this morning and saw it holding the 200-day, I thought it'd be a good one to share and take a quick look at the technical analysis of it. As always, it's merely my interpretation of the ECPN chart. This is Andy with QualityStocks. Thank you for watching, and trade smart.